Hello, everybody. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Great start to the week. Well. Might want to backtrack on that one. It's not been a great start of the week for groins. That's just the whole groin situation over the weekend got very out of hand. Okay, just not a great start of the week for that region of the human body. And it's been hilarious listening to sports radio all day as everyone has found different ways to talk about the situation involving Draymond Green and kicking Steven Adams in his nether regions, and everyone trying to talk around the word but not actually say the word because there's such a thing as FCC standards and nobody wants to be the person that gets fired talking about Steven Adams gonads. So there's that. But you had that happen. Dante Jones, Saturday night in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals, punches Bismack Biyombo, also in the nether regions. And then, for those of you paying attention to any kind of NFL news at all, J.J. Watt has not been practicing with the Houston Texans because he's coming off of a groin injury. So, yeah, that's the setup of that. But before we jump into groin talk, I don't know. I don't want to call it that. But that's where we're at right now because of the particular, shall we say, focused nature on that subject matter. That's where we're at. So before we jump into any of that, let's talk about where you can reach us and where we can reach you very quickly. I'd like to talk about the social media platforms. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are the best places to check us out. You can listen to this show right now. It's streaming live on YouTube if you care to go find it. You can check us out on hotnewstalkradio.com, where we have links to all of these social media and a live stream of the show. You can also live stream the show on facebook.com. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio in the search bar. You can check us out as well in the TuneIn Radio app. Again, that's the TuneIn Radio app. It's absolutely free in your favorite app store. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio, give us a favorite, and press play, and you'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. So in the nature of playoff basketball is intense, okay? You play one team repeatedly over and over again until one team beats the other in a best-of-7 series, and during the course of that time, obviously, hatred develops. You can't really help that. It's a bunch of testosterone-fueled men colliding in each other, and you had the Game 3s of the Western Conference Finals and Eastern Conference Finals, respectively, on ESPN and TNT over the weekend, and they featured, okay, maybe not featured, but the part of the controversy of them was the groin attacks that were there, which by the way is not new to the NBA. Okay, this idea that grown men are hitting other grown men in the nether regions of some kind, as though they didn't know what it was that happened. We've seen this before with Chris Paul and James Harden, and in the Olympics in 2 separate occasions with Nicholas Batum, who I contend is one of the dirtiest people on this earth. Like, to know that that's a person and their balls there, and you just punch them. No, you're just a bad person. You're just a bad person. And if you get suspended and you get fined, I don't feel bad for you. That's just the way that goes. And I've been hearing all kinds of things today, especially Colin Cowherd on this very station, who's talking about Draymond Green and saying that Draymond Green shouldn't be suspended for this because it alters the series. And you've got to take into account, his intent. And if you don't know what his intent was, you can't alter the series over his intent. And I've been hearing that word. Like, it didn't look like he did it on purpose. I heard Shaq say last night that, the process of flailing, when someone fouls you and you're trying to sell the call, once you start to flail, it's very hard to, and I'm summarizing, that's not exactly what he said, but it's very hard to unflail, basically, to decide to stop your moving limbs once you've started the process of randomly throwing them in different directions, which makes sense, right? And I agree with that to an extent. But when it comes to hitting another man in the nuts. You cannot be too careful with this. Like, the league needs to send a strong precedent about this. They do. Look at the NFL. The NFL wants to limit head trauma, head injuries. What do? You get flags for targeting. You get flags for helmet-to-helmet contact. You get flags if you're a defender, if you touch the head of a quarterback. You remember that Hail Mary that Aaron Rodgers threw earlier in the NFL season? He got the opportunity to throw that Hail Mary because a Detroit Lion, his fingertips grazed Aaron Rodgers' face mask, and they threw the flag. Why? They don't care about your intent. Don't touch the quarterback's head. They don't care about intent. They're trying to protect it. So they want you to be very careful there. I don't see this, quite frankly, as any different. I don't see it as any different at all. If you are serious about this, and I think you should be, because protecting somebody's region there, their man region, you can't be too serious about that, okay? We survived the epidemic that was America's Funniest Home Videos. America's Funniest Home Videos basically made a fortune on dads getting hit in the groin. I mean, it's not fair, and it's not funny. That's bad parenting if your child sees that and thinks that's hilarious, because one day they're going to have that happen to them, and you're going to wish that somebody taught you, like, no, that's not funny. That's not funny. Being joined here by Miss J, my girlfriend, and also she comes in to help clarify things for people who are getting into sports and just don't know what questions to ask. So
we'll get there.
We're talking about this issue.
I mean, I'm listening. First of all, I do agree that the pandemic of America's Funniest Home Videos, and
we survived that.
We have the television show Jackass on MTV. I'm not cursing. I'm just quoting the title of the show.
Right. And I think the FCC lets that one go. Don't abuse it, but
I don't want you to lose your
right.
Whatever. But I mean, I'm not a man, right? So I really can't weigh in
on how serious a situation that is.
But like, I can tell you, I grew up as an athletic young woman, and my favorite sport to play to this day is soccer. I'm short. I've got powerful legs. It works in my favor. And I remember one time there was the guy in my class, and he had it going on, and I was going to show him that women were powerful.
Well, I bet he learned.
He did. And I was so confused. I remember everyone, so we went up for the ball, and it was just this great back and forth. I had been playing goalie for a while, and when you're in I don't remember, we must have been in 5th or 6th grade, and you have the feel, and you kick the ball across the expanse of the field. Super exciting, right? And so then we were you leave your goalie position, trade with someone else, because of course in grade school, there's no rules. You can do whatever. And we come up to each other, and I kick that ball as hard as I can. The ball goes up, and my foot goes up, and it just gets him right in the center. And he went down harder than the ball coming from Mars. And I couldn't understand why. I mean, I knew that I had kicked him, but it wasn't that hard. This is a tough guy who's been through way worse. And one of my guy friends pulls me aside.
He hadn't been through way worse, I promise.
And he taps me on the shoulder, and he goes, "Jay, no." I didn't get words that day. I didn't get explanation that day.
No one has any way.
No
one can explain what it is.
Learning that, hey,
if you're a woman, you're just gonna have to trust me. That is one of the worst feelings on earth. There's no way to explain what that is.
My problem with this whole situation, putting the B in NBA, my thing here is, as a man, do you not know that that's a problem?
You do. No, here's the thing. That's the reason why I think they've got to suspend him. You can do it on accident, okay? But if you do it on purpose, you know what's wrong.
I'm just saying, after watching that clip, I am not accusing anyone of anything.
It looks like he did it on purpose.
But that's some push off that he has, the way that his calf muscles are flexed.
It came with some force, okay? It came at Steven Adams with some force, so he collapsed to the ground. To Steven Adams' eternal credit, he said after the game in his his Australian accent. They were asking him questions, and he was like, "Well, I'm still a man, so I've got that." Like it's just like, yeah, okay,
Oh, great.
he's still here. he's still here. And Draymond Green is like, I think Steven Adams might want to have kids someday. I'm not trying to end that on the basketball court. That's just ridiculous. But Draymond, it looked like that's exactly what you were trying to do. But regardless, okay, because I understand, I've never played sports at that level or at that speed. And all I know is sometimes guys are moving, and, I've been to a few basketball games and I've seen how fast these guys move. It's hard to stop yourself from doing stuff. But either way, you've just got to be more careful. Like, honestly, I'm not even kidding. You have to just be more careful. The NBA needs to send a message, not just to the rest of the league, to the world with this. You just have to be more careful. Sorry. You put your team in a really bad place because of this?
Yeah.
That's too bad. Next time, be careful around a person's groin.
I don't know if you've gotten there, but I know we were talking earlier, and I really resonated with what you said. I mean, in the NFL, there's like people make protections.
Right. And they go over the top on it. Like the NFL is not worried about the intent of the player. You might have jumped early and that guy didn't move, and now you're midair and you can't stop yourself, and then your helmets collide. Still a penalty.
Right.
We don't care.
And I mean, I know that there's like certain protectors that men can use, but I don't know if that works in basketball.
It doesn't work in basketball because you wouldn't be able to move nearly quick enough to do what it is that they're asking you to do on a basketball court.
So if people know these things, I go back to Mr. Green. Do you not understand the magnitude? And then he just walks away like nothing happened. Like, obviously you felt that there was contact, and you knew it wasn't his arm and it wasn't his face.
He might have just thought he hit him on the leg. Draymond Green said, after the game, Russell Westbrook hit him, but it was on the leg and not in his groin, so we're not talking about it. Yes, that is exactly why we're not talking about it. We shouldn't be talking about it. That's the nature of how this works. Like if I struggle to even find an example with this, but like if you do something to me, like if you break something of mine, it depends whether or not I get mad at you, depends on what you break. If you break a cup, yeah, okay, fine. You break my computer, I tend to be a little bit more mad at you. If you kick my leg, I'm like, You kick me in the groin, we might not be friends. Okay, like that's where we're at on that. Of course it matters where he kicked you. You've just got to be careful there. You just have to, especially since you are only one game removed from kneeing the same man in the nuts already.
Oh.
Now that looked like more of an accident. Like he jumped to block your shot, you were midair, but you know that this can happen.
Right.
Like
this one was like a 3-step process.
It's a repeated incident.
Like, those like rape balls that they have that you can buy, like, the lanyard that's done really tight. A lot of people put them on their keychains and whatever.
Right.
Now, I don't know if this is a joke or whatever, but I've always been told if you have one of those and you find yourself in an adverse situation, it's like Krav Maga. Like you take that thing and you go straight for the groin. Like that is what I've been taught as a woman my whole life.
If someone is actually trying to harm you, then no, you protect yourself any way you have to.
Maybe Draymond felt that he was in danger.
But he couldn't have been because he was the guy with the ball. Sorry. Steven Adams stood in his ground trying to play defense.
I'm not
sorry.
serious at all.
You can't do that.
How?
And here's the thing too, because it seems to be some kind of epidemic that's taken the league almost by storm. You have this. James Harden is a known groin puncher. James Harden's done it. Nick Batum has done it. There's just guys in the league that have done it. Chris Paul's done it. And Chris Paul is A, one of my favorite players, and B, either depending on what your metric is, the best point guard in the league or the second best point guard in the league. It's him and Steph as the two top guys. Chris Paul doesn't have to punch anybody in the groin. Like, why even do it? But like guys have done it. I'm like, look, the league just needs to drop the hammer on this and say nobody's doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and from the perspective of, money and what is monetarily sound for the league and what is great for the league. Yeah, I mean, I understand you don't want to put the Warriors in a position where the series turns sour quickly, because that could definitely happen. If the Thunder win the next game, they're up 3-1 in a series. And I mean, I don't want to say it's over.
Put that rule in like post-season.
You could, but the thing is, and that's the reason why it just hasn't been a great weekend for groins, is because just one game prior, you've already suspended Dante Jones one game for punching Bismack Biyombo in the groin as well. Except that was definitely more intentional.
That's what I'm saying. Was it the intent there that we were punishing?
Well,
or was it the groin that we were punishing?
Both. It was that you bolt, like, we know that you, because they didn't take very long to suspend Dante Jones for that. We saw you ball your fist.
But that was on purpose. Like, that was a planned. I feel that LeBron was like, "Dog, you know what you got to do,
right?
D-Day,
and
go
LeBron
collect the harvest." Like,
look, LeBron said he was going to pay Dante Jones's fine, and to set up what happened in that game. LeBron James was thrown to the ground by Bismack Biyombo one or a few plays before. Dante Jones comes in. Dante Jones, by the way, is not great, and he never plays. This is the key here.
He's
Dante Jones never plays.
He's the Reaper.
Dante Jones' suspension for the Cavaliers changes and troubles nothing at all. And he goes out there, he punches Bismack Biyombo, elbows him in the chest while he's going down, so you know what you did.
Right.
And then, LeBron says today he's going to pay Dante Jones his fine, which sounds very enforcer-ish to me. I've watched a lot of hockey, and I know how this works. It sounds very enforcer-ish, because there's a guy on your...
Isn't that a different sport?
Yes, but that concept is literally...
I know.
That's literally how that concept works. There's a guy on your hockey team. He's the enforcer. He's the goon. And, you look at the Penguins, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby is possibly one of the greatest hockey players that has ever lived, but he is not much of a fighter. If you see Sidney Crosby, I'm not saying you could take him, but you might have a shot.
I mean,
Sidney Crosby is a scorer. He's finesse. He plays the game beautifully. If I'm playing hockey against the Penguins and I put a hand on Sidney Crosby, I'm getting checked by a much larger human being later in the game. And he's going to take the penalty. That's his job.
Interesting.
He's not necessarily great at hockey. He's great at hitting you hard because he's large. So
he's large and in charge is what you're telling me.
But hockey has rules for this. Hockey lets you fight. If I am an enforcer and I hit you and I cause you to be injured for a game, then they'll suspend me for as many games as you're out. I mean, like, hockey's got provisions for this. There's no provisions for this in basketball. That's just so weird and unethical because of the sport.
In basketball, to this ongoing back and forth of old basketball versus new basketball. I know that you might talk about some of this eventually, but, it makes me think about that because a lot of people, from what I can tell, feel strongly because basketball isn't as much of a contact sport as it used to be.
No, and that might have something to do with it. Like, where can I hit you once that it'll really hurt? Like, back in the day, I have places...
I was all over you.
I had places that I could hit you because the league allowed me to literally... the Pistons and the Celtics played each other in the 80s. I think it was 88, where Bill Laimbeer was just one of the dirtiest players in NBA history, and the Celtics beat him up, like knocked him out. They had to bring the smelling salts out to wake up Bill Laimbeer. And of course, Bill Laimbeer wakes up and goes, "Was the guy ejected?" Like, that's all he wanted to know. It's the league allowed you to hit everybody everywhere. Like, they had the Indiana Pacers in the 90s had the tap rules, which is they felt like you were driving down the lane too much. Big guys would yell tap. And when you go back again, they'll knock you out. The Pistons had the Jordan rules for when they played the Bulls, which was basically, it wasn't a nuanced game plan. It was just, let's beat up Michael Jordan when he drives to the basket. And that was just hard fouls on Michael Jordan.
Basically.
Until they made the monster that is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had to work out and add extra muscle and actually get bigger to face the Pistons. It was what he did that for. So yeah, the league allowed you to hit people.
And then Space Jam.
And then Space Jam, obviously.
Okay, anyway.
But you can't now. So I'm wondering if the league didn't cause this in some backwards way, because now guys are like, look, I can't hit you a lot. I might get one shot in and I'm going to get it. Right where it will hurt you.
Maybe we'll have to talk about this later because I think we're coming up on the break.
We are coming up on the break.
But I'm really interested in the flailing situation. Like, this is not the New York Broadway. Like, y'all need to ease on the flailing. But maybe that's part of it.
the flailing situation. We will get into the flailing situation. We'll also talk about NASCAR's All-Star race because it's too absurd for words. I tried to read the rules of the race, and I did not understand what was happening. And guess what? Neither did any of the drivers. So we'll have that story coming up for you next, as well as some college football talk here on Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240. Hot News Talk Radio.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240. Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra-large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community, offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet-friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
Just imagine not a cloud in the sky. It's the perfect day on the water. You could be enjoying boating with friends or wetting your line to catch a fish. Or maybe it's just you and that special someone on a sunset cruise. All of this without the hassle of owning a boat with your membership in the Carefree Boat Club. As you relax and spend time with the ones you care about, you have the peace of mind of knowing you're a member of the Carefree Boat Club. Weekends were made for relaxing and being hassle-free, just like the Carefree Boat Club. Let us take the worry out of boat ownership. No matter if you enjoy fishing, skiing, cruising the lake, or maybe even an overnight adventure, we have a boat for you at the Carefree Boat Club. Start making memories today. Call 423-619-7156 to join. Boating season is here, so do not wait. Call now, 423-619-7156. Carefree Boat Club is located at the Harbor Lights Marina, 9718 Hickson Pike.
Poof! Just like a magician, Les's Pawn Shop can turn the stuff that's just lying around in your house and garage into cold, hard cash. Les's Pawn Shop on Highway 58 in Chattanooga will buy, sell, and scrap anything of value. Hey, and get this. If you're looking for anything from guns and jewelry to guitars and tools, you'll find it at Les's Pawn Shop. Quality pre-owned items. Les's Pawn Shop on Highway 58 in Chattanooga also buys gold and silver at top prices. And if they don't have it, they can order it for you. Les's Pawn Shop, Highway 58 in Chattanooga, where you'll get top dollar for your stuff. And you'll be surprised at the wide variety of our unique items. So the next time you're looking to buy, sell, trade, or scrap anything, from jewelry to coins and currency, guns and ammo, music and tools, stop by Les's Pawn Shop, 4742 Highway 58, Chattanooga. Call 702-5868. That's 702-5868. LesPawnShop.com. That's Les with one S, pawnshop.com. Poof! Just like a magician, Les's Pawn Shop can turn the stuff that's just lying around in your house and garage into cold, hard cash.
Expect clear skies to continue through the nighttime. Comfortable again overnight. Lows 53 to 56. For Tuesday, lots of sunshine returns. Dry as well. That'll continue for the next few days and getting warmer highs tomorrow into the upper 80s, around 90 for the midweek. Call the Vein and Laser Center at Hamilton Medical Center in Dalton for a free varicose and spider vein screening. This is a limited time offer. For more, call 706-270-VEIN. And I Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A competitor died in the water at the Ironman competition. It's not clear yet what the cause of death was. A spokesperson says that they're deeply saddened to confirm the death of one of our athletes participating in today's Ironman 70.3 Chattanooga Triathlon. The athlete required medical attention during the swim and was transported to a nearby hospital where they were treated. The man required medical help during the 2.4-mile swim portion of the event. He was pulled from the water by emergency crews and taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. His identity has not yet been released. A retired attorney and his son are dead after a domestic dispute, according to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. The victim, 82-year-old Glenn Copeland, was shot inside of his home. When investigators went to search for the suspect, they found him dead inside of another home on Jenniford Lane. Sheriff's deputies say that the shooting was domestic related. The price of gas has been going up around the country. Here in Chattanooga, $2.29 is the highest price and $1.94 is the lowest on Mountain Creek Road. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Man. Just we're talking about groins. That's just where we wound up today. That was not the goal, but like, how could you not? It happened. So much happened over the weekend, and like to the point where J.J. Watt injured his groin just in training camp. Okay, he's not participating in team OTAs, and so we can't even talk about that because we have two human beings out there in Dante Jones and Draymond Green out here trying to get dudes just injured on purpose. I can't stand for that. That to me is so infuriating. I can't.
Well, you know what they say in the NBA.
What do they say in the NBA?
When the groin gets tough, the tough get groin.
No, they don't. They don't say that.
I'm sure I read that on a t-shirt somewhere.
You didn't read that anywhere.
Yeah, always.
That's not anywhere that any person that I know.
Isn't that like on your like?
Nope.
Jersey?
It is not.
I'm just
nope. So
haven't done laundry in a few weeks.
The entire act of flailing is what caused this entire issue with the Warriors in the first place. Because this whole situation is upsetting because it overshadows, the game where the Thunder were up on the Warriors at one point by 41 points. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
It overshadows the game. Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, so good. It's not fair. Like I can't think of two great players together on one team like that got drafted onto that team. It's so hard to find one of those guys, much less two. Like the last time I can even think of that happening is Tim Duncan and David Robinson. And the Spurs got lucky because David Robinson was on the team and then he missed a year. I believe that was when he was he went with the Navy because he was still a member of the Navy at that time. So he did his tour and came back the next season. And while he was gone, the Spurs were terrible. And they got the third pick in the draft, which they used to draft Tim Duncan. And then they had Tim Duncan and David Robinson together on one team, which was just borderline unfair for so many reasons. And then, Kobe and Shaq together on one team, but the Lakers didn't draft Shaq. So it's still two great players on one team, but Shaq had to come from Orlando. I don't know if we've ever seen this. Like this is something else. And what do we talk about? We talk about Draymond Green and his flailing kick.
But they played well.
Yes.
Like really, really well.
When the two of those guys are on it, this is not an exaggeration.
Oh my word.
They cannot be guarded.
Like it was kind of embarrassing to watch. I mean, such a beautiful thing too. I mean, that is skill. That is
it's skill. It's horrifying athleticism because Kevin Durant is nearly 7 feet tall. He moves like a person much smaller than that. And Russell Westbrook jumps from the ground like he's trying to take orbit. He leaps with so much.
Beyond. Okay, I guess I'll just stay here at the basket. That's fine. He like levitates. Can we just talk about
flies? He actually flies. And when you talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm surprised actually because I think many of us thought before this series it was going to be Warriors Spurs, and after this series, after the series with the Spurs, it was like okay, they're going to put up a good fight, and the Warriors are going to beat them in like 7 games or something. I don't know about that. And I don't want to do the thing where we overreact because the Thunder won game 1 and we were like, oh, they're going to win the series. Then the Warriors win by like 30 and we're like, never mind. And now the Thunder have won again by a very large amount. And so your gut reaction is to jump back to the other side. You're going to be flip-flopping this entire series. These
like
are two
pendulum.
Yes. I mean, they're very good teams.
Like a ping pong tournament, whichever one.
Whichever analogy works for you. But it's just kind of overshadowed by what it is that Draymond Green has done here. Because
it's like a kick to the groin.
Figuratively and literally.
That's
just the both.
Well, I don't understand how one man can do that to another man in that capacity. Yes, accidents do happen. Correct. But, like, do you not really, at some point, you have to understand how close you are to a person, right? I mean, it's going to be a foul if it's going to to be a foul.
Maybe Draymond Green doesn't have spatial awareness.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to go out there.
Usually, I've heard that men are generally more spatial. I don't know.
Not just men. I hear that athletes are generally more spatially aware. That's one of the prerequisites to, being an athlete, typically. But who knows? Because you're trying to come up with explanations for him to make it seem okay what he did.
Well, Draymond Green,
and it just seems more ridiculous.
Strongly that Russell Westbrook also hit him, so that makes it okay.
Hit him by flailing, and so he's saying that the reason why the spotlight is here is because it's the groin kick.
Can we talk about the flailing? We started off with a little bit of that last one.
I don't want to jump back to it. We will, because here's the thing with the flailing. It's about getting the attention of the referee so that he knows that you were fouled. Because if you just allow yourself to be fouled, the referee might not think it's that big of a deal. Probably just let it go. Like James Harden is the guy that I think if we were to just hand out awards for flailing, he easily.
Don't they? I feel like that would be a great part of.
I think they do hand out awards for flailing sometimes. They're called flop warnings. And if the league thinks that you're flopping to try and get a call, they fine you. That's a wonderful award, I think, that you deserve for doing that.
I think so too. I think it's wonderful.
Okay, and I understand that flopping is a thing. I get it because, look, I'm trying to win. I'm not too worried about dignity. People aren't gonna remember the undignified stuff you did trying to win 15 years from now. They're just gonna remember that you won.
I think we're gonna remember Draymond Green's groin kick.
We will, but
for the next 15 years.
But if the Warriors win the championship, it's not going to be seen as that big of a deal. Like the Pistons won 2 titles in 88 and 89 on the back of being like one of the dirtiest teams in the league, and we justify it away because they won. There's
that's a great moral lesson.
There's a documentary. Sports is the ultimate
Play
meritocracy.
Dirty, only if you win.
Sports is a meritocracy. There's morality is trumped by victory every time. It's sports and war, basically. Trumped by victory always. Okay, it's basically. I mean, you could even argue love in a lot of ways too. Just because if you see the old stories, like those classic stories of like the Victorian era like love triangles. Somebody's losing there.
I mean,
I'll tell you, somebody's losing there. I haven't read the stories really.
I mean, that would be more my deal,
right? I haven't ever cracked open a Jane Austen novel. I have no idea what's in there.
Wonderful.
All my point is because it's been summarized for me.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Somebody lost there, okay, and it was either through someone else's passivity. Or whatever,
sure.
But the guy who stepped up got the woman. Okay.
Yeah, but it didn't matter how he stepped up. The point is that he
stepped up. And when you remember the story, you remember him almost in the better light because that
is true.
He's the guy, right? So you look at sports. Sports is just the victory shapes the narrative almost retroactively.
And we talk about that. History is written from the eyes of the victor.
Correct.
So I mean, in sports, it must be the same thing.
It is. In fact, if you look at people who are rich, okay, and it doesn't matter if they were born rich or if they worked for their money or whatever. If you're rich, the tendency in your mind is to believe that people who aren't rich just don't work hard.
I've heard that.
And that's not necessarily true. And what it does is it actually makes people who are rich, and I forget exactly which scientist it was that said this, that done the research, you're less giving because you believe, because you believe that that money made is through purely work. There's no luck involved. Never mind that I was fortunate enough to have both of my parents come to America and bring me along. So I'm standing in a radio station today, that I had nothing to do with that.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you, Mom. I had nothing to do with any of that.
What is that movie, that Will Ferrell movie with Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart?
Get Hard.
Yes, that is a fantastic, like, over exaggeration.
Correct, because Will Ferrell's character has a lot of money. Kevin Hart's character has less money, but he's working very hard, and Will Ferrell's character basically treats him like garbage.
It's great. That opening.
That's the same idea. That your narrative is shaped by where you wound up, not necessarily what actually happened along the way.
So how does that translate then when we're looking at like the morality? Because in essence, if you're trying to say it's bad to kick someone in the groin,
where you look at that is you don't worry. Like there's a point where you can't worry about the narrative, which we can't help in sports, but to apply narrative to everything, it makes the games more interesting,
right?
Like
the same way we see, the reporters going back and forth between like Westbrook now,
right? And I forget. I think it was I was listening to The Right Time with Bomani Jones, and there was a great example about women's basketball. Baylor played Notre Dame, and we all expected, Baylor to just crush Notre Dame. Brittany Griner was going to be the player of the year. She was dominating. She's 7 feet tall, which is just so rare. She's the one person in women's college basketball dunking. So you're just like, mercy, right? And then the unthinkable happens. Baylor loses. And all of a sudden, a narrative comes out of nowhere that you never heard before. Skylar Diggins is the face of women's college basketball. She played for Notre Dame. And we weren't talking about Notre Dame before. And Skylar Diggins had just the right timing where, she's attractive. She's very well spoken. And so she has this thing.
She's well spoken.
Spoken. I'm not.
Sorry.
I'm not. She is.
Okay.
and this narrative ballooned out of nowhere. Nobody was talking about Skylar Diggins and Notre Dame. When I tell you nobody, I mean nobody. I watched it. I was watching that game. And when the upset happened, everyone was like, oh, to the point where Skylar Diggins is still getting endorsements to this day.
Interesting.
Because the narrative changed. We apply it to this stuff. And we have to discard the narrative and say, you know what? Draymond Green is being reckless around this guy's groin. Like, this is the second time in 3 games that this has happened.
Interesting.
I don't care if it's an accident.
Trying to take him out?
I don't.
No.
I don't think he's trying to take him out.
Let's be honest, Rope.
I really don't. I don't think he is. Because, it doesn't fix the problem. Like, the reason why Steven Adams is dominating you is because he's just a large person. And you take out Steven Adams, what's left? Okay, so now you have to deal with Serge Ibaka, who is also larger than you. Like, you haven't fixed anything. The Thunder are just bigger than you. Okay, then you have to deal with Inez Kanter, who is a worse defender, but B, also bigger than you. Like, you haven't fixed anything by taking out Steven Adams. So, no, I don't think he's trying to take him out. But I do think that he doesn't mind. Like, I think he's just being reckless. And if that's going to be the case, like, my being reckless, I don't have anything to lose from this, then I'm going to continue to do so. And I think the league needs to send a message. Hurry up right away. No, we're not going to accept this recklessness because that's dangerous. And quite frankly, America needs to know as well, because it's not funny. And I think, shows like Jackass and America's Funniest Home Videos in the 90s and just a great many YouTube videos have made this hilarious. I've seen a number of Vines on it too. And it's just like, no, it's not funny. This is not funny. Like, this is a serious issue. And I think the NBA can do their part to making the world a better place.
I feel like if I had $1 for every poolside golf club, random baby with like discombobulated driving skills in a toy truck that ran into dad, uncle, brother, cousin's groin.
Right. Like,
I could start off with a small $10 million loan from my dollar collections and start a business.
That's butt whooping stuff there. Like that's the kind of stuff that, like, I have kids and somebody else gets hit in the groin and they start laughing, that's like dad's gonna spank you if you think that that's funny. That is not funny.
So okay, like this is a question that I legitimately have. Talking about the league and this conversation of old league, new league, skill, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think these types of things would have played into the old league, so to speak? We kind of touched on it, but I'm really interested in like maybe a little more breakdown.
Well, I think
would this have been as big of a deal or something that we would have seen like this in the old league? Quote, unquote.
I think you might have seen this in the old league. I can't think of any instances where this happened the way the NBA used to work. But just the way that we have the internet today makes this much larger than it would have been previously. That Draymond, okay. I didn't actually see the Draymond Green kick live because I started watching the game late. And I was able to see it today from 3 angles. You wouldn't have had that in 1987. And that makes it a bigger deal by necessity. And we keep talking about this all the time, and we're just adding to the size of this particular story and this particular issue. The guys got beat up in the league before, like actual fights. Like Reggie Miller was not a fighter, but he was a very annoying person. And you can find the clip on YouTube. Just search Michael Jordan fights Reggie Miller. There's a clip, and I'll never forget Michael Jordan's face. He is so angry. And he has got his hand on Reggie Miller's face like he's trying to rip Reggie Miller's face off. That would never have flown today, I don't think. But that we have the media and we can blow it up to a level that is just unreal.
That's fair. That's a lot. That's fair. Because I remember growing up in, the 90s era, and basketball was definitely different then. But, we saw the rise of like the technology coverings and all the different rules and things that started to come, and the way they started to put the cameras on the boards and the rims and different things. Not that they weren't there before, but they weren't there before.
They weren't there before, and they certainly weren't in HD wherever the cameras were.
Right.
You just have the clarity. We were watching the Draymond Green kick, and from one angle, you're like, no, I don't think he did it on purpose. And then from the other angle, you're like, oh my gosh, like he definitely did.
Story
It changes the way that you think about it because you have the clarity. And
so now calls are being made that weren't being made before. They've got the reverse where they can now rewind and watch things almost really on the floor. They can.
Yeah, they called it a flagrant one, which in the NBA today is a reviewable call. They go over to the table, they flip up the computers, put on the headset, and start trying to review the call. And they have a review center in a neutral location in New York that they're also always going through footage too, trying to review things. So, guy's foot is on the line, and when he takes a 3, they can go back and take the point away because it actually was a 2. I mean, like you've just got
more eyes on so in a way, does that not make the game more athletic? Because before where we could possibly blur the lines, and say, it was a 3 because most of us saw it that way or whatever. Now we can go back and contest it, which means that your ability to do the things has to be more precise, more
correct.
Clear.
And it also means that when you hit somebody in the nuts, you're not getting away with it. That's what that means. Just by the nature of how many eyes and how many cameras we have on everything, you can't get away with this.
Hey, so let's take this back to like that OJ trial status. Do you think he did it?
I mean, I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but yeah.
Draymond Green, did he do it?
Oh no, he did it. I mean, he definitely did it. Now, I'm not going to try and sit here and interpret whether or not he did it on purpose.
No, I mean like on purpose.
Do
you think he did it intentionally?
I do think he did it intentionally.
Okay.
Like and again, I saw a still image of it, and still images have this way of just taking things entirely out of context.
I saw that image. It was
but
rough.
But Draymond Green is looking Steven Adams practically in the eyes during the kick. Like there's no way.
I just don't understand. It looks like it's like the most beautiful about this is the Nutcracker suite. And so you see Draymond do a beautiful little like PA type thing.
And poor Steven Adams just crumpling to the ground in a heap.
In the most perfect like angle of his foot, and his right knee comes up just beautifully, just nice little march there, and right into Steven Adams. And I just it broke my heart a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
I hurt
watching that.
That's a rough one.
It's painful.
Okay, like the only time I've ever seen that and like felt like that was when I'm watching like guys skateboard and one of those related incidents that always seems to happen.
So, I'm sorry.
And I feel for those guys as well.
Yeah, definitely. So my next question to you is this. Based on how these last couple games have been going, what do you think about our race to the actual championship title? You know, what do you think? Where do you think it's going to go from here? Where do you see it happening towards?
It's
some things you think we should look for.
It's hard to call it in the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, the Cavs are going to win that series. Sure, the Toronto Raptors did get their win. They won by 15. It was no one expected them to win that game, but quite frankly, it's not surprising that they won it either. You get embarrassed in back-to-back games, and you go back to Toronto. The good people of Toronto want to see something better than their team lie down and get run over. So that's
and then reverse.
They fought back, and I think Toronto's got the capability of winning even one more game in this series, but ultimately I think Cleveland beats them. In the West is where it gets tougher to call because these two teams are really closely matched. It may not look like it because of the two blowouts, but that proves to me that they're equally matched, that either team has the firepower to blow the other team out. I'm waiting for another game where they're both playing well on the same day.
Right.
Because the same thing happened in both of the blowouts.
Yeah.
They were close. And then all of a sudden you blink your eyes and like that.
It's like Pokemon, like the Jigglypuff just came out and sang and like they fell asleep. Like, and next thing you know, you see this other team just, and it happened on both games though. I mean, really, like there came a point in that second, like the mid-second quarter, we came up to halftime, and then that next quarter,
just an eruption of points. I mean, we didn't even make it to halftime in game 3.
Yeah, no.
We like they blew that lead open right before half, and I was just like, this is weird. This is the strangest thing I've ever seen. And
we could call it the second quarter curse. You know, like
maybe. I mean,
that's a thing in this. I mean, it's happened consistently.
It's weird because I expect the blowouts usually to happen. One, you're playing close at halftime, and then coming out of halftime, somebody comes out flat and not ready to play. I never expected right before halftime, and
continued. Usually, clutch happens. Someone comes in clutch at the last minute, and we've seen that happen so many times. Teams have risen from the bottom and just come back.
I didn't know what to say there. Like that one got so out of hand so quickly,
fast, and I thought, okay, like all right, 10-point lead. All right, 15-point lead. Okay, got 20-point. Like, hey, y'all still in the game?
And
you realize the game's happening, right? Like,
and part of it is, Steph had a bad game, Draymond had a bad game, Clay had they all had a bad game, and then you can't have a bad game when Westbrook and Durant both score 30. Durant had 33, Westbrook had 30. The two of them combined for 63 points. No, you can't do that. Like you really can't allow that to happen. And it did, and it just is one of those things. And I don't know if you're Westbrook and you're Durant, like if you can do that again for game 4.
I mean, why not?
I don't see why not, but Golden State's going to give you a different look. The question again is, will Draymond Green play? Because if he's not playing, there's nothing that's going to stop Kevin Durant from getting to the basket.
Well, we watched, in the previous game, a series of games, we watched the team completely reorient to Curry not being in the game. Do you think that Draymond not being in the game can cause that same kind of reorientation, or do you think it'll just be more of a gap than anything?
I think it will be more of a gap, and the reason why I say that is it's crazy because Steph, I think at this point is the best player in the league. Like I don't know that that's really debatable. I suppose you could debate in LeBron.
It's uncontested at the moment.
So there you go.
There you go.
But at the same time, Golden State's got a lot of capable guards. They're okay. They can kind of hold down the fort. You'll hang in there. They don't have as many big men. Okay, they've got Bogut, they've got Ezeli, they've got Green, but it's not as deep as Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City has the size advantage to take advantage of Green not being on the floor. So you've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Thank you for joining me today, giving me just a little slice of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and check out the Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Shake, shake, shake it at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. The most delicious and unique milkshakes. How about this for delicious and different? Add freshly cooked bacon to any milkshake.
Is that even legal?
You bet your milkshake and booty it is. Chocolate caramel bacon shake. Coffee caramel shake. All hand blended. Shake, shake, shake it.